Yeah, I forget what she did.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Tonight is our Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. It's 5:30, February 22nd. We'll start with a silent prayer and a pledge of allegiance. And we'll move into oath of office and election of officers, approval of minutes, and finally we'll go into our hearing.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's begin with the roll call. Yep, and then we'll do the oaths.
Mr. Shrewsbury.
Here.
Mr. Palma.
Here.
Mr. Grinnell.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Whitman.
Here.
Mr. Iba.
Here.
6 here, we have quorum.
All right, so let's, we'll begin with the oath of office for 2 members. So Rick, if you and Ben, you just go stay here. Get you up on the screen, right? We can see the place. Then the camera. Look at me, but people can see it. I want to see it. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jim Whitman,
Do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support
or support
the laws of the United States of America,
the laws of the United States of America,
the state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
and the city of Sunbury,
and the city of Sunbury,
and to faithfully,
and to faithfully,
honestly, and impartially
honestly, and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of the Sunbury Board of Zoning Appeals
as a member of the Sunbury Board of Zoning Appeals
for the duration of my term in office.
for the duration of my term in office.
Congratulations. All right, if you sign them, we'll notarize them.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, if we wanted to move on, I think, like I said, the next order of business is the election of the officers. We do have the rules as well to be considered, so we can go through. So it's an annual process to select a chair and a vice chair. So again, maybe if we take that up as the first order of business, then we can move on to a rules adjustment.
Okay.
So with that, we'll take nominations for the chair.
I nominate Kurt.
Second.
Okay.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any objections to closing the nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. If without objection, Kurt, serve as the chair for 1 more year.
Yeah.
Mr. Shrewsbury, I should say, will serve as the chair. Same type of thing for the vice chair. Can we open nominations for the vice chair?
Who wants to be? I'll nominate Mr. Long.
Second. Any other nominations? All right, any objections to closing the nominations? Hearing none, and without objection, Mr. Long, congratulations. You will serve as the vice chair for the upcoming year. All right. Thank you for that. And then, like I said, we wanted to go over in your packet are the rules for the Board of Zoning Appeals. I think what you have in front of you reflect the rules as they currently exist. There is a proposal to make 1 modification. So with that, I don't know, Vic, if you want to
I can
share that.
Did they, Alex, did they receive a copy of the revised with the changes?
Yes,
Okay,
they were
so what-
all in front of you.
So what you have actually is a change. So when the
Thank
packet initially had gone out, it did not have this one change that I'm going to go over with you. Essentially, the nature of the change, well, backing up, the rules for those of you that have been on already in the previous year, they're identical to the previous rules we had last year, other than this change. So the change is, it's been kind of an ongoing issue with this board as well as Planning and Zoning Commission, the issue that Mr. Ryder had mentioned earlier about having a quorum at any given meeting, but that quorum may be just 4. And then at the next meeting, having a quorum, but those 4 may be comprised of different members. So not having enough members at any follow-up meeting who were at the prior meeting to approve the minutes. So at Planning and Zoning Commission in January, the issue actually came up because we had, I think, 2 new members. And we didn't even have enough members on the commission to approve the minutes from December because they weren't even no longer on the commission. So this sparked me to do some actual legal research on this issue and as to whether what entailed or what we could do as far as approving minutes legally. So I've done that. And this change reflects what I feel works and what is legal and lawful to do. And essentially, if you want to look at your rules, the only changes from what you were given and had the opportunity to review and changes from last year appear in Article 5. There is down towards the bottom of that paragraph, some italicized language in parens that just says see Article 7B for specific procedure for approval of meeting minutes. Okay, so that is a change. And then Article 7B is where the substantive change actually exists. And so what this article says is, it gives out the procedure for approval of meeting minutes. And what this allows is, so what I determined through my research is a member who is present at this meeting or any given meeting, even if they were not present at the previous meeting whose minutes are being adopted, they still can offer corrections if they would like as to those meeting minutes. There's nothing in the law that precludes that, nothing in Robert's Rules of Orders that would preclude that. They also can vote to approve those meeting minutes, even if they weren't at the previous meeting, okay? So that right there in itself addresses this issue of what do you do if you have a quorum, but you don't have a quorum of enough people that were at the previous one. It's not necessary. You are allowed to vote yes to approve minutes at a meeting that you are at, even if the minutes of the meeting you approved, you were not at, okay? So that's the first part of it. So you can certainly vote aye, and if you do, and there's 4 votes aye, then the second part of this doesn't even come up. But because the vote is your own, and it's your decision as to how you're gonna vote, yes, no, or abstain, what this is saying is, in the case, if you do choose to abstain, if you're here and you choose to abstain for whatever reason on approving minutes, and again, this is just for approval of minutes, it's not for any other vote, okay? Just for approval of minutes. If your vote is to abstain, or you otherwise don't cast a vote when you're here present, the minutes will reflect that, the vote will be reflected, and it'll be recorded as an abstain, okay, or a no vote. But that abstention will be counted as an affirmative vote. So that if there's 4 people here, 3 of which were at the previous hearing, 1 wasn't, and that person or any of them chooses to abstain for whatever reason, that abstention is still going to count as an aye. It'll be recorded as an abstention, but it will count as an aye, so it means minutes can pass. That way, we're not in this perpetual state of kicking minutes down the road until we get enough people that were actually at the meeting, which never happens. And 7 months later, we have meetings from 7 months prior, or minutes from meetings 7 months prior that have not been approved yet. Does that make sense to y'all?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions about any of that? So with that said, I guess the next order would be to vote and approve on these rules if you are comfortable with them and comfortable with that modification.
Is there a motion to approve the rules?
I move that the rules be approved.
Second. Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Grunell, we have a second by Mr. Palma. And we also had almost a third, but that's okay. So if there's no additional discussion, are we ready for the roll, Mr. Chairman? Or ready for the roll call? Yeah.
Mr. Grinnell,
Yes.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Ryba.
Yes.
6 A's, motion approved.
which then brings us to the approval of the minutes.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Move to approve the October 16th minutes.
I'll second. Who's that? Who's second? Keith. Got it. Mr. Ryman,
Abstain.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Mr. Grinnell,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
and Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
All right, 5 yeas, 1 abstain, motion approved. And
All right, so that then brings us back to the public hearing portion. So with that, maybe we'll have Vic do the general introduction, enter the documents into the record, and swear in anyone who will testify.
Good evening. I'm assuming you're the applicant tonight. It looks like we have a highly contentious issue, obviously, with your. So, as Mr. Hennessy indicated, this is a public hearing. We don't have a court reporter here tonight, but it is being recorded. So in a moment, the chairperson will ask you to come to why don't you go ahead and come to the podium now? Might as well, so we get you on the microphone.
Sure.
So as you're responding, just speak into the microphone. Try to keep your voice up and be clear. You know, the commission or the board may have questions for you. You know, let them ask their question and then respond so that we're not talking over each other, so our record can be as clear as possible. Why don't you go ahead and state your name and address for the record now?
Yep, I'm David Pavletchko at 63 McFerrin Street, Sunbury area.
And you are the applicant on
I am.
tonight's variance, okay?
Yes.
And because it is a hearing, I'm gonna ask you to raise your right hand. I'm gonna swear you in,
Yep.
right? So is the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, and under penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Yeah, I do as well. So, and then, yes, I'll go ahead and move to admit the exhibits. I have marked here multiple exhibits. For the record, I've marked as Exhibit A, 13 pages, which consists of your application and the related supporting documentation that you submitted with that. So that's marked as Exhibit A. Exhibit B is the public notice of tonight's hearing, as well as the mailing and proof of mailing to those affected residents. It's a 4-page document marked as Exhibit B. I have marked Exhibit C as a 4-page document, which is the staff report that was prepared by staff from the city of Sunbury, and then marked as Exhibit D is a 1-page document. It looks like we have an email from Mr. Gokenauer, who's not here, but is showing support. So I'll go ahead for purposes of the record. I've marked it as Exhibit D, and it will become part of the record as well. So with that, I would move to admit these 4 exhibits into the record.
Just ask if there are any objections to that.
Are there any objections?
No objections. They are admitted into the record. And if the commission wants to begin its questioning of the applicant, go right ahead.
Well, at first, I'd like you to explain your application and what you'd like to do.
Yeah, I'm looking to replace the existing privacy fence on the property around the perimeter. Alex indicated there was variance, things have changed over the years. The fence that is existing was there when I bought the house approximately 7-8 years ago. And it's pretty dilapidated. I've tried to repair it piecemeal, but it's in need of replacement. So I'm just seeking to replace as it is on the current line in the current perimeter.
Same style of fence too?
Yes, yes, stockade, dog ear, 6-foot fence, nothing changes really.
And then if I may, the reason we're here exactly is because in our code, it says under, and you can find this in your documents, it's fence standards for all districts, height and location. Specifically for corner lots, it says where a rear or side yard abuts a street, privacy fences otherwise permitted in a side or rear yard shall not extend into required side or rear yards on the street side, absent prior approval of the Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission, which was who would have handled this at that time. But now since the BZA exists, you handle variances. So this specific case has to come here no matter what, because it is a privacy fence.
Again, because why it doesn't.
If it abuts on a corner lot, if the fence will abut the street side of it, which this fence does.
And it has to be how far from that or what?
There's no distance it has to be from it. It just says that it needs to be approved by some various things.
That, I'm just trying to understand, is
Yeah.
it because it's there, it has to get approved?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
And it doesn't say exactly why that is. Me and Vic had conversations about it prior, and we think it's because of corner lot, just sight lines. Looking at it, we don't want a fence that's blocking sight lines from that intersection.
Thank you.
So
There's another one in Sunbury that violates our current code. That's kind of the reason this is in place. If you go back a few years. Next to a church.
And in that, if I could, Mr. Rabbit, is that because that one blocks
The view.
the view? Okay,
Yes.
so that, yeah, as a member, the former member of the Planning and Zoning Commission would have been involved in that discussion. So thank you for clarifying
So
that.
it blocks the view for like traffic, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that.
Are we asking the applicant questions in this part or in the BZA discussion part?
You're welcome to ask questions now.
Your property abuts a commercial property, correct? In the back.
Right, and park,
And on the side yard, there is no sidewalk there, correct?
that's correct.
And how will you maintain this fence going forward if you replace it?
I will treat it as I normally would, whatever the code is on, or whatever's required of, whatever fence I put in, it's just gonna be treated lumber.
And will you stain it? Or,
Probably not. I'll probably leave it as natural color. Once I stain, then I have to stain all the time, but as long as I treat it with clear coat.
so you would treat it annually? Okay.
Yes.
And for us, the reason that this is being brought forth is so you tried to replace a couple of panels at a time and it's just not the right.
Yeah, there's been needing, replace the posts, try to rehammer and what is existing, but I think it's beyond salvageable. And, you know, I think now's the time to replace the entire fence. I don't think we're in the sightline issues because I'm about 30 feet from the intersection, north and Vernon. So there's no sightlines as far as that's concerned. You know, sightline that's obstructed me from the driveway, but I have plenty of to encourage Morris Street to be able to see out.
Sure. And if it was, so I understand, all right, with the code, if the fence was replaced panel by panel over time, not an issue. It's the fact that it's being replaced all at once is the difference, right?
So this gets to the question of whether it's a repair or replacement.
Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you were repairing the fence, it would not be in front of the board today.
Right.
But because it's a complete replacement of the fence, it's in front of the board.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Do you have any knowledge of any accidents that have occurred that anybody claimed because of the impeded site?
Not that I'm aware of, since I've lived there since 2017.
So what I understand is that basically you have a fence that's been there, you know, way before we moved in 7, 8 years ago. And it's in sad shape. You want to replace it with a new fence. And I think you're going to contract with Lowe's, or that's who you're thinking about contracting with.
Yeah, they're in my final decisions between them and May, but
Okay, but anyhow, but you basically want to replace what's there now with a new fence.
correct.
And nothing else would change other than that, same kind of lines, things like that. And that would make your life a lot easier, not having to fool with the shed or move stuff and things of that nature.
Correct. If we had moved that fence that's along North Street, I have a shed that I would have to move it around a base, I have a couple of landscaping beds, so there'd be a little bit of a hardship on the cost. A little.
Do you see in anywhere, just being objective, how, if this were approved, just, you know, swapping out a new for an old, that this would somehow negatively impact the public interest?
I don't see it. I can't foresee anything negatively impacting that neighborhood.
Has any of your neighbors objected to this happening, or if they know
I
about
know signs been up and they were welcome to appear here, and those that live around me that are looking at are probably tired of looking at the dilapidated condition, so I think they're probably excited to have me replace it.
it? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll close
Yep.
that part and move into BZA discussion.
Question for staff. Have we received any complaints about the fence?
Not.
No.
Can you help me understand the current code when we talk about fence standards in all districts, and maybe I'm reading an old one, hopefully that's not the case. It says, any fence cannot be nearer than 1 foot from the side or rear property line. And I've noticed also on the diagrams here that the fence is beyond the property line. If I'm reading that correctly,
What part of that are you reading, just from my understanding? Next section here.
it's in this binder, there's no page number, S81 dot 16.01 fence regulations, part D, number 4. Corner lots,
Yes.
height and location. It says not near than 1 foot to the side or rear property line, height not exceeding more than 4 feet.
So that is the section, that passage I read earlier is the start of that section where it's not allowed to, or it can abut a rear or side yard with going to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So this second half of that says, provided, however, that this provision shall not prohibit permitted rail or split rail fences erected in such side or rear yard parallel to and not nearer than 1 foot to the side or rear yard. So the way I read that and interpret that, and Vic, if you will, chime in if need be, that is specifically for the rail or the split rail in this specific circumstance in the corner lot. So that is under this corner lot section. And it's saying that, so if he wanted to put in a rail or split rail fence, he would not have had to come to planning and zoning, as long as that rail or split rail was not nearer than 1 foot to the side or rear of the property yard. And typically with our fencing applications, it's not the city's responsibility to verify property lines. That is up to the applicant. So in this situation, if you guys were to approve his application, he'd get a regular fence permit. The fence permit would be signed, and on the bottom, it's up to the applicant to provide property line, get a survey, and make sure that the fence is on their property. Does that answer your question?
Right, so the fact that the contractor is showing the property line and the fence over that, I mean, can't be certain that really is the property line. Again, at the end of the day, though, when he submits his application to build or to replace the fence, he's affirming that it is within the property lines. So he'll be responsible for that. And if that requires some adjustment, then he'll have to make that adjustment. But that's not what this board is here to decide. So, and again, just to kind of reiterate what he's saying is, it's the zoning officer's interpretation that those other provisions apply to the second half of that sentence. Now, that's why we have a Board of Zoning Appeals. He has an interpretation. Some people may feel differently, and they appeal to the board.
Maybe I'm so.
Yep.
But the code would say you need to be, obviously at least within 1 foot of the property line, and it can't be more than 4 feet
If it's a side yard fence and it's split rail or
on a corner lot.
on a corner lot.
In that specific instance is what this 1 foot.
But a privacy fence, it doesn't apply?
Not
That
in
isn't
our
what it says.
code, no.
I know.
Yeah, we did not write, that's good, unfortunately, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Mr. Ryba is new to this board, but a lot of the issues that have come to this board have been fence related. And I think what we, have talked about as a staff, at some point, we probably do want to get some feedback from the Board of Zoning Appeals as to whether or not you feel like our fence code is appropriate. And if so, you can make a recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission to make a recommendation to council. We do anticipate that we'll be reviewing the city zoning code here in the near future. So again, this may be one of those areas where we would really want to clean up the language, clarify the language.
And I think that paragraph specifically is probably one that we're definitely going to look at, because it brings a lot of cases to this commission that I think otherwise would not need to come.
Alex and I spent a lot of time trying to parse through this provision, so.
I read it over several.
Yeah, this may be right for some modified language in an upcoming zoning ordinance revision.
There any more questions?
Yeah, so maybe I'm just trying to understand this a little bit more too. So I'm looking at I didn't download the most recent copy, but I don't think it has changed. But the one that I have here is privacy fences shall be permitted in the rear and side yards only. privacy fences in the side yards may extend no closer than 20 feet to the front corner. So we're good there. Okay. Such fences shall not exceed 6 feet. So we're good there. Okay. Of a natural grade. I was reading the 20 feet and I'm like, is that from the property line? But that's from front corner.
And based on my measurements, he's right around 30, if not over 30 feet from that front corner.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay,
One more question.
Sure.
So just to make sure I understand, as far as the way the code is written, it is must come for the approval.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily not meeting certain requirements in the code.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, the code says it should be only 4 feet and this is 6 feet, or it should be so far from the property line, but
Yeah, he's not asking for a variance in like the phrasing of the code. It's just specifically a variance because of that line I read earlier that says it's required to have the approval of this
Okay.
board. So that's why we're here, even if I think it was, or it just replacing it, it could have been suitable to just
Okay.
get it, but just because of that one line in this, it is required to come to you guys for approval.
okay, okay, thank you.
So it's technically not a variance, it's a necessity to approve based on the code. Is that how you say it? I don't believe in that.
Yeah, you are not asking for a variance from the terms of the code. You are asking for approval from this board to approve your application. Yes, so I don't know, it's styled as a variance. That's the form I think that we have. I'm not sure if we have another. So I don't think it matters one way or another as that specifically. What matters is whether or not you're going to approve this or not.
I guess my thoughts, just looking at this, I know if you were to consider, okay, how many privacy fences do we want right up along the side of the road? And I'm looking at codes that say that is preventing less of a privacy fence be much further away from the road. So we're essentially saying, yes, we would want to approve this. Is not necessarily breaking any of the codes, but it's more of a, do we want privacy fences more regularly in this neighborhood on corner lots this close to the road?
I think we have to look at those, each individual property is different. This one abuts to a commercial property.
Hmm.
So almost think of it as a commercial property. If you had a commercial property in your backyard, what would you want? I want a 6-foot privacy fence.
Yeah.
For sure. Where there's cars going in and out, different things going on at the business. I mean, it makes perfect sense, in my opinion. In a residential neighborhood, completely different. But that's not the case here.
Plus it's been there.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And no one's complained. And no one's here to complain.
Yeah.
okay. Is there any further discussion with the BZA?
Make a motion to approve the variance or request or however we want to word it,
I'll second.
The application.
the application.
Discussion. All right, Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Grinnell?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury?
Yes.
6 ayes, motion approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you, gentlemen. Congratulations on the board.
All right, so that's all the business we have this evening. The next meeting is tentatively scheduled for the 18th. I don't know that we have any applications yet.
I do not have anything as of right now. If there is something, I will pass it along. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Move to adjourn. Thank you.
Yeah, motion to
Yeah, we
adjourn.
should move to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Ryder, Mr. Whitman.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman? Mr. Grinnell?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury?
Yes.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
6 ayes, motion approved. Meeting adjourned.